You're more big and strong.
You're going to be big and strong?
Yes.
What do you want to train?
I want to train for these.
You want to do this?
Yes.
You want to squat?
Yes.
It's very heavy.
But you can dig up and then bring that way and I'll take it and then you lift it and I'll...
Oh, you want to do bench press?
Yes.
Ah, okay, we'll do that up. Hajde, sedi tamo, vidite, sad će stati rad sjeti. Ok, bravo. Love you, bebo.
Love you.
Right now, as it stands, I'm basically doing push-pull legs. You know, one of the most basic ways to periodize, to structure your training, push-pull legs. That's what I'm doing. In terms of my accessories, obviously I'm squatting every single day, but throwing in these calisthenics movements, number one, that seem to be taking a lot of time. Like for today, I did 25 down on the dips. So that's 325 reps. It took me an hour and, not 15, hour and 10 minutes, something like that. It took me a long, long time to get through all of that. Obviously, that's a lot of work. But that's kind of what I'm feeling like I need to do to progress. So push, dips, pull, chin-ups or pull-ups, things of that nature. I'm varying the grips. I'm kind of going here, really, really wide on the pull-ups and then chins. That's kind of how I'm rotating that. With the dips, I have been doing dips basically every single time I do push. There was a few days where I did push-ups, but I've been concentrating on the dips because I feel like I'm lacking there the most. And then legs, push-pull legs. The legs portion of it is essentially I'm doing, you know, pin squats or lunges. That's kind of how I'm structuring the training right now. Today, I wanted to do lunges as well. It's just impossible. After you spent an hour freaking doing dips, you're spent. Like centrally up here, you're spent. You don't have the will to fight with lunges anymore. And I just did, quick run up with the front squats, and that was basically it. So when you introduce the upper body, into the mix, it becomes a tricky balancing act. If you want to progress everything at once, it's very, very tricky. This is why I always kind of reverted back, historically speaking, to just doing legs or just doing squats and squats accessories. Ever since I started doing this calisthenics stuff, the deadlifting has dropped off immensely. That's kind of how I am. This is the thing, carpet bombing everything would be great. If we had unlimited resources, yeah, sure, 10 by 10 on everything. 10 by 10 on everything, get all your bases covered and you're set. But you can't do that. And so when you start introducing the upper body and the lower body accessories, when you start doing all of this stuff, then you start getting into less frequent sessions. And so when I do lunges, I do 10 sets of 10 lunges every third day. Dips, you saw. Pull-ups, I'm doing 10 down. I think I did 14 down the other day or 15 down the other day. It's just, I don't know how else to structure it to get the adequate amount of training in. Out of all of those days, I'll push the squats twice a week, something like that. That's what I'm down to. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm hoping that all of these systems fit into the one whole body, and things kind of start to look up, synergistically. That word which describes, you are greater than the sum of your parts, that kind of stuff. So, if I'm doing a lot of dipping, it's going to train my triceps, my lats, my chest, and that rigidity is going to maybe make the upper back also stronger because the chest is the antagonist to the upper back. These kind of relationships start to pop up, and this is where you see the value of hitting everything holistically. But you need to be very, very careful where you're putting your volume in. Like if you want to have squatting as your number one priority, not squatting heavily, not squatting with enough volume is going to hurt you. Like you can do all of the accessory lifting you want, all that fluff, the bodybuilding stuff, but if you are deviating away from your actual sport, lifting heavy squats, deadlifts, then I don't know how much you're actually benefiting yourself. It needs to be some form. It needs to be in the mix. I've tried on my days off to, you know, really combine some of these ideas and make it kind of like upper lower split. It's just way too much work, man. Way too much work with upper lower and then squatting every day as the baseline. It just becomes very, very difficult. But with calisthenics, all of the calisthenics movements that I'm doing, they tend to be higher volume. So the things that you're doing higher volume, you drop your frequency. It just makes sense. You can't be doing, you know, 25 down every other day. It's just way too much volume. It's just way too much. And then you throw in 15 down with pull-ups, and all of a sudden you're doing stupid amounts of work and you have nothing left. You can barely finish that, but you have nothing left for your main sport. So this is where it gets kind of tricky with programming. And I mean, at the end of the day, you can do everything. You know, there's a lot of guys out there who are doing calisthenics, and all they really do is push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. No legs, ever legs. And so they are like the anti-Ivan, where, you know, I went years on end with just freaking doing legs. You know, legs. Whereas I was doing squats every day and then thinking about hamstrings, glutes, adductors, like, you know, doing all these accessories. So it's hard, man. It's hard to break everything up. You know, back in the day when I was doing only legs, you know, pushing that 210 kilo goal, you know, I thought to myself, okay, you know, what are the components of legs? You know, you've got glutes, you've got adductors, you've got hamstrings. And then part of that, you can break down even the core. You know, can you do enough flexion, you know, hip flexion? Everything is about extension with the squat. How about we reverse that and do flexion? And so this is where you guys start going, well, Jesus Christ, man. So you want to do, you know, push-pull legs, and then also throw in your core training. It gets tricky. These are some of the difficulties, you know, for us lifters. You know, it's the ultimate, you know, dichotomy. It's the ultimate discussion. It really starts with your goal, man. It starts with your goal, and you kind of have to reverse engineer that. What does that look like? You know, so for me, and there's also elements of what are you doing for each push-pull legs? Like, for instance, I'm going very, very heavy with the legs, and I'm going very, very light with the push-pull. So calisthenics for the upper body, and so really the only central nervous trauma that I have is when I'm doing the lower. So when I do the lower, I'm doing heavy pin squats, heavy pin. That really tires me out. But if you were to go push-pull legs and everything is like sub 5 reps, it's tough. It's tough. So like if you were to put all this on a graph, there's all these different lines that you're putting on there. You know, there's obviously the local muscular fatigue that you have to think about, the recovery for each muscle group. But there's also a central nervous line, which tends to kind of linger, and you don't really have clear signs. Like if I did triceps today, okay, this is really, really sore today. I'm good maybe in 3 days time or whatever, 2 days time, something like that. But with central nervous fatigue, you don't really feel that. Like there's no real indicator. Like people have talked about using the grippers, like, you know, get the scale, the weighing scale, and, you know, clench that and see how much you're getting or whatever. It's really, really hard. So this is where you kind of have to be honest with yourself. You need to auto-regulate, but also you need to be aware of the difference between a mental fog, and actual central nervous fatigue. So there's a lot to juggle here. There's really a lot to juggle, and you have to structure it nicely. It all comes with training experience. For me right now, basically, I'm doing push-pull legs. Push-pull legs. Every third day, I'm getting after the legs, like I said, with the lunges and the pin squats. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. It's been lunges for the last few weeks. Now I'm thinking about putting pin squats as well. Where do I fit deadlifting in this? In the legs? Work up to a single? Or maybe can I afford to do it on a pull day? You know, pull day, just quick run up on the deadlift, 240, 250, something like that, 260, and then go into my pull-ups, something like that. But it's interesting when you start doing the full body, it becomes very tight when it comes to the real estate on your timetable. How do you structure it all? Just interesting. There's many things to consider. So 325 dips today, 140 front squat, and that's basically it. I trained for about hour and 30 minutes, I would say, something like that. There was a bit of a gap in between the dips and the front squats. Had some guests over, so yeah, that's it. Appreciate all of you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.